Today we're going to do things a little differently, and we'll show you some of the mistakes we made in our garden that required a lot of work to fix, and some of them we couldn't fix at all, but we learned for the future. First off, a little bit of a backstory about us. When we lived at the first house after we got married, we had a garden with raised beds every year for 5 years and had great harvests. Then we lived in a house that only had space for containers, so we only had tomatoes there. A few months ago, we moved into this place and we immediately started thinking about the garden. We live in zone 8A, so our last frost date was the last week of April this year. I was so excited to finally have a garden again that I made mistake number 1, which was planting too early. I had spinach, arugula, lettuce, carrots, and beets seeds in the ground even before the last frost date. When we had our first garden, we only planted outside mid to late May. One year, it was even after Memorial Day. Because we, or should I say I, rushed things, nothing happened in the garden for weeks. I was losing hope when temperatures were in the 50s during the day and 40s at night during all the month of May. The best thing to do is to find your particular zone and then look for the last frost date. Going back, what I would change is I would wait a few weeks to make sure that the temperatures stay in the 50s at night before planting anything outside. Now on to mistake number 2, we did not stratify our containers well. So we just took garden soil and dumped it into the containers and then planted. You can say that we were kind of lazy and rushed it, but we're also new to container gardening. At our first house, we had 10 to 12 inches raised beds, so it was more like planting in the ground than these tall containers. Because we had almost 2 feet of soil in the containers and it was raining a lot every single day, it got packed and not friendly for the tiny roots that were trying to emerge. Carrots and beets are the easiest things to grow, and they just couldn't thrive at all. Mistake number 3 was that we did not have enough holes in the bottom of the containers. We had 6 1-inch diameter holes for the small containers and 12 for the bigger ones, but that was not enough. As I said, we had a very wet spring and water was just pooling in the containers and not escaping into the ground. The top few inches were fine, but the deeper we dug, the more the soil, it resembled mush, not soil, where veggies can thrive. That's one of the reasons our onions started to rot. My first year gardening, I started everything from seeds indoors, and I watered everything so well that I drowned my onions, and they were rotten in no time. I didn't know. I was new to this gardening thing. My parents had a garden growing up. I wasn't in charge of the garden, and to be honest, I wasn't even interested in learning about gardening. But now, when I saw the onions starting to rot, I knew exactly what the issue was and how to fix it. A wise person once said, "Sometimes you win and sometimes you learn." When we plan to work outside for a number of hours, I bring a jug of water and a few snacks that we and the kids can enjoy. This prevents multiple back and forth trips into the house, opening packages in the pantry, and things like, "Mommy, I'm hungry, can I have a snack?" every 5 minutes. It can be as simple as some crackers, pretzels, some baked goods that I have in the house, fruit, carrot sticks. That's how we get anything done. Otherwise, we would spend most of the time feeding kids, bringing them water, and so forth. Mistake number 4 was using too much fertilizer. We rely on organic fertilizer, meaning no chemical enhancements for the soil. Mostly, we mix manure into the garden soil and add some rock phosphate and some other plant feed made of fish oil and other organic materials. However, we overdid it. Trying to compensate for the wet and cold springs, we thought we could help our tomatoes grow faster and bigger by adding chicken manure to the roots when we planted the tomatoes. It literally fried them. We mixed a third of the 5-gallon bucket of manure with some water and added it to the roots. Oh, what a grave mistake that was. My mom told me that they aged the chicken manure for up to a year, then mix it with water and make a compost tea. Then they take a liter or just over a quart of this tea and dilute it in 10 liters or about 2.5 gallons of water. And then they add it to the plants when they need a little pick-me-up. Even if math is not your element, you can understand by how many folds we over-fertilized. Anyway, all in all, when it comes to fertilizer, less is more. More is really not more. You can kill your plants. The sun came out and the rain stopped. We might as well stop with the mistakes and go on to what we did to fix them. So we decided it was a lot of work to completely redo everything, but there was no other option. We shoveled all the dirt out of the containers. Great upper body workout, by the way. After that, we cut big holes in the bottom of the container so no matter how much rain we get, water can get through. We filled each container first with bigger pieces of wood. Then we added branches with leaves or pine needles. After that, we placed cardboard to cover as much as we could. On top of the cardboard, we added a couple of inches of compost. This was made of everything around the yard, from grass clippings, leaves, kitchen scraps, etc. In most of my videos, I wish you could smell the aromas in my kitchen when bread comes out of the oven or other baked goods. I do not wish that you could smell this compost. It was so stinky that I had to hold my breath while spreading it. After the compost, we added about 10 to 12 inches of organic garden soil that we purchased from a local nursery. My husband found this formula for stratification online, and we decided to go for it since we had the wood, the branches, the compost, so we only had to buy the garden soil. But if you find a different formula online that matches what you have around the house, go for it. In our first garden, we did a mixture of garden soil, sand, and cow manure, and we mixed it really well. Our tomatoes produced so much that we were sending everyone home with a box of them when they came over. At the end of the day, that is the goal. We garden primarily for our family, but the community is next. Blessing the community around us with the fruits of our labor is how we want to live and what we want to pass down to the next generation. I hope you learned something from our mistakes. We definitely did. I also hope you enjoyed this garden edition type video and that you will subscribe and ring the notification bell so you do not miss any future videos. Thank you for staying until the end. Have a wonderful day, evening, or night. God bless you and God bless America.